YWAM Singapore has an invitation. We'll hear from our international director, and a Street Kids ministry grows in this issue of Global Perspectives.
Hello and welcome to this special edition of Global Perspectives. If you're not a regular subscriber to GP, then you're receiving this issue because Youth with a Mission Singapore is sponsoring it. They're planning a Go Festival and hosting 400 evangelism teams to go into 15 Asian countries in June 2006. Interested? Watch this.
Tears of unending pain. I've watched as war-torn nations treated life with such disdain. My heart grieves to know that these haven't come to understand that I suffered for their suffering and died that they might live again.
The tsunami in the year 2004, December 26, has brought about destruction. 250,000 people died in Asia through the huge wave. The shorelines of Asia was covered with dead bodies and the debris of the destruction. And God's heart cried over them. God's heart beats in pain for them. His heart's cry is that for the earth shall be filled with the knowledge of the glory of God as the waters would cover the sea.
Take my healing to the nations, bind their broken hearts with love, stretch my hand throughout creation with this message of my love. That I came to bring light in their darkness and bring joy where there once was pain. Take my healing to the nations, bind their broken hearts with love. For the fields they're ready for harvest, and the laborers there so few, countless millions still that I want to fill, but the task isn't mine to do. I gave you my commandment, go and preach good tidings of love, for I finished the work on Calvary, and their healing's already been done.
Would you come? Would you come and help Asia? Would you come and help Asia to see and to know the knowledge of the glory of God? Would you come and help Asia to make Jesus the Lord over their lives? Would you come and help us?
So take my healing to the nations, bind their broken hearts with love, stretch my hand throughout creation with this message of my love, that I came to bring light in their darkness and bring joy where there once was pain. Take my healing to the nations, take my healing to the nations, take my healing to the nations with love.
For the past 20 years, it has always been our goal in producing Global Perspectives to use it as a communication tool, not only to highlight what's happening within the mission, but also for leaders to communicate to the larger YWAM family. With that in mind, International Director Ian Muir has a short message.
We're here at Viva Latin America at the YWAM base near Belo Horizonte in Brazil, and you can perhaps even hear some of the festive atmosphere that we have going on behind us. It's been a wonderful time of rediscovering ourselves as a global YWAM family, as YWAMers from more than 80 nations have gathered here for a week of celebration, fellowship together, and hearing the voice of God. This is a season of restoration for YWAM, and part of that restoration is a renewal of what it is to be a family. YWAM is not truly an organization, but we're a family of people dedicated to the Lord, loving Him, and seeking to fulfill His will on earth. About 10 years ago, we as an international leadership felt that the Lord was guiding us to describe our structure as a family of ministries. Diversification had taken us all in different directions, and there needed to be a point where we could gather together and where we could express those different gifts and ministries as part of the ministry of Christ Himself. And of course, that is a biblical concept as we think of the teaching of the Apostle Paul to the Corinthians and then again to the Ephesians. The body of Christ itself is a family of ministries and gifts working together to express who God is to this world. Actually, in my task now as International Director, I don't really direct anyone, it's a misnomer, but I serve leadership teams and leaders in different parts of the world to try to help their teams be more effective in the very context of a family of ministries. The regional teams particularly are where YWAM leaders representing all the different ministries we have should meet together, sit together, pray together, love together, and seek God together for His purposes for YWAM as a movement. It's a great privilege to me to do that. And I want to encourage you today to see YWAM as a family of ministries. Let's pray it's not a dysfunctional family. During our global leadership time here, we had to make confession that we've not always been functional. And sometimes we've let things slip, we've let things go, people have been hurt. We're making a fresh commitment to give leadership to this family of ministries, that it will function well and effectively across the world. So let's pray together and let's be family together.
From August 24th to 31st, YWAM's global leadership team held their annual meeting in Belo Horizonte, Brazil. About 40 men and women representing fields, regions, and nations, as well as transnational ministries, gathered to seek the Lord, plan, and pray for each other and the mission.
I thought there'd be lots of business and discussion, but I think the thing that has impressed me the most is seeing our leaders, getting an opportunity to see our leaders praying for one another, praying and asking God's wisdom on these decisions. That has been that's just been a very healthy thing for me to observe, and I have been impressed by that.
Barbara Overgaard of YWAM's International Communication Network wrote daily articles about the GLT, which were posted on ywamconnect.net and circulated to mailing lists around the globe. YWAM's international chairman, Lynn Green, noted that the reports helped undermine the idea that the GLT is a secretive group. For more information about the GLT and its function in the mission, pick up the current issue of the International YWAMer. 1,600 YWAMers participated in Viva Latin America, this year's YWAM International Staff Conference and University of the Nations workshop. It was held at the base in Belo Horizonte, Brazil, September 1st through 8th. Participants from Egypt to East Timor, from Malawi to Mexico, had all found a way to attend. YWAMers filled the campus, spending time with one another in dining halls, seminars, and college breakaway sessions.
Jovens com Missão é movimento apostólico pioneiro. Nós não somos uma liderança pirâmidica ou de pirâmide. Nós nos reunimos para ouvir do Senhor e estar com Ele e celebrar a pessoa dele. Quando nós estamos juntos aqui em 70 nações, como estamos representados, Deus traz sobre a missão um time spirit. Esse time spirit, ele cria visões, ele dá fé para pioneirar novas coisas. Então, é isso que nós estamos fazendo aqui como corpo, o todo junto.
Back in the early 90s, we showed you a story about the street kids of Brazil and what Johan and Johan Lukasse were doing to minister among them. We'd like to show you just a little of that story.
Midnight in Belo Horizonte. The streets are alive with activity. They have become the home of thousands of young people who are caught in the struggle for survival. Many die of hunger, drug abuse, AIDS, gang fights, police brutality, and the killers hired in by the shop owners and the local middle class.
There's a number of reasons why children go to the street. I would say more than 90% comes from broken homes and very poor homes. So often the situation is so bad, they either get kicked out of the house, of their home, or they choose to go to the street.
E seu pai? Onde está?
Pai? Está trabalhando.
Está trabalhando? Você não pode ficar com seu pai, não? Bate você? E na rua, o que você faz? Você anda com quem, hein?
Só.
In '86, we started moving out with a small team into the streets and in the slum areas and meeting the real needy children on the streets and in the poor neighborhoods. And so we started meeting them, which was quite interesting.
The day center has become very popular with the street kids. Hours before their doors open, they are waiting to be let in.
It's like a drop-in center. The kids can come during the day. They come for shower, for food, for clothing, and then they get introduced to a new life. So it's really the first steps, like building a bridge of friendship.
Every day, the kitchen prepares great quantities of food to be distributed among the most needy. Showing this practical expression of God's love has opened up many hearts. On a Friday night street outreach, suddenly the police arrived and started to beat the street kids. Mistakenly, they took Matigali, a YWAMer from Samoa, to be their gang leader. After a severe beating, they rushed him off in a police car. The YWAMers feared for his life, for many of the street kids taken by the police are never seen again, or their bodies are found outside the city.
And we found out that he had been beaten there for 2.5 hours. He had fainted a couple times because of the beatings. They had pointed guns at him and at his head and in his mouth. They had tried to kill him various ways and yelling all the time that he was the leader of the street kids, and he would say, "No, I'm not, I'm a missionary."
Finally, Mati was released and rushed to hospital where he was under treatment for a week. Immediately, the national and international press reported on the event as YWAM filed a complaint against the police. But in many ways, this traumatic experience had a positive effect on the work.
The churches really rallied together and said, "Hey, this program is really good, and this problem is really not just your problem; it's the problem of the church. Let's see what we can do too." So we see that the attitude of the local churches is becoming more and more positive, really.
Although Mati probably has to face more surgery on his road to recovery, he is anything but bitter.
And it's amazing to hear him tell that it was the best what happened to him. But he said, "I can identify now with the street boys. I know what they are going through. And God gave me so much more love even for the street boys."
Which came at a real interesting time, because at this time a commission or a council of protection of child rights was being chosen, and so YWAM in fact was chosen as one of the members in our city to be on that council.
Ficava muito perseguido por polícia, pegava a gente, pegava nós para dia que era à toa, o dia batia demais. comida da cadeia não presta. Os meninos mais velhos, eu fui conhecer a casa do Johan. Aí eu passei a frequentá-la e aí adiante eu fui conhecendo mais Jesus e agora Deus viu que você, assim, instrumento para ser usado por ele, então ele me aceitou aqui e hoje eu estou nessa casa esperando para ver que no futuro Deus faz por mim.
Está pensando em ficar, né?
Estou pensando assim.
Today, Mati Gali, the young man that was beaten by police, and his wife Julie now head up a similar ministry in Recife, Brazil, in the poorest communities there. If you'd like information on their ministry, you can check out their website. But we're not through yet. Recently, a Dutch production company did a story on what Johan and his wife were doing in Brazil these days, and through it, we can see how they've grown.
It's very sad to see a child of 13 years old maybe going to destruction.
They don't even have other dreams than being on the streets. One of the girls said, "My dream is to learn to write my name. I can only write the first letters." That's not a real dream. That's not what God planned. God has much bigger dreams, but they don't know.
All over the world, big cities have big city problems. They attract many poor people who hope to find a future for themselves and their families, but many of them will never find it. The third largest city in Brazil is Belo Horizonte. It has 4 to 5 million inhabitants, from very rich to very poor. Slum after slum emerges on the hillsides surrounding the city. Thousands of slum children, some with their mothers, live on the streets. The slums and the streets have similar problems: alcoholism, drug abuse, violence, sexual abuse, illnesses. Many suffer, many die very young. Johan and Jeanette Lukasse, a school teacher and a nurse, obeyed God and came to help these children some 20 years ago. Johan and Jeanette work with YWAM, Portuguese for Youth with a Mission. Teams of YWAM go visit the kids on the streets. Their first goal is to win their trust and motivate them to want a better life.
Mom is always drunk, there is no father, the older brother is dealing drugs inside the home and all kinds of things going on. And so that's when we saw, well, we really need a home for those kids who cannot go back.
I love my mother and I have to help my family at home. But now I live on the streets. That's my home. But life on the streets kills you.
How do you earn a living?
By begging and robbing.
Do you sniff glue?
I like to smoke soft drugs. And I sniff thinner.
Every time children come to the House of Rescue, they can freshen up, have a free shower, and usually a hot meal. Staff spend time with them.
I see a huge need of love and acceptance, and so that they would really realize that they have value. And my dream is that they really come to find that value in God and see their lives change.
Some children really want to change, but fail to do so.
What keeps you from living with God today?
A droga. 30 to 35% of the kids on the streets will die before they are 18 years old.
These kids are involved in drug trafficking often. Now, if they don't pay their bills, they get killed.
Children who are motivated enough to start a new life are offered a free 2-week program in the House of Rescue.
They have to learn to live in a house again, with walls around them, with people who say, well, we are going to sleep now and it's time to sleep, and there are hours to have breakfast and lunch and supper and all those little things they were not used to anymore.
Often it's even so they are so disturbed that sometimes at night even they'll wake up and they want to run away, or they go like crazy. Sometimes they may have demons or something like that, and so the team has done a very intensive time of play games with them, sing with them, pray with them, do Bible study with them, cast out the demons or whatever is needed, take them on an outing and do something, but they're busy all the time.
Most of those kids have, for example, gone to spiritist centers if they needed money, and they would literally sell their souls. That's all normally comes up during those first 2 very intense weeks.
Boys that successfully complete these 2 weeks are offered a place in the House of Restoration.
Sports is just so important, especially kids who come from the streets, who have a drug background and who don't really know how to spend their time and how to really go around with aggression. And so they, in a very natural way, they get rid of their aggression and they just, we just had a good game, and that's it. And it's also good for their character because they have to make the right choices right there at the court. So I'm always challenging them with that, with their attitudes.
The leader of the girls' house is Wilma from Brazil. With a few staff members and volunteers, she helps these children and young women recover from their past and build up their future on dreams and reality.
We find many of their problems are caused by sexual abuse in the past. This happened to 99% of them. Many have been raped as well. They feel dirty, discredited, and marginalized. Some have lost the will to live and became passively suicidal. Others have built a fantasy world, which they hide in when reality gets too tough. Here they have discovered they are valuable. This makes them fight for a better life. One of the reasons to give them ballet lessons is to improve their self-image. It gives them satisfaction and a reason to be proud of themselves. This improves other areas in their lives as well. Did you have difficulties accepting yourself?
Yes, because my mother didn't love me, didn't accept me as I am. She wanted a boy, and she didn't have time for a girl, she said. When I came here, I thought I wasn't worth anything, a destructive thought. I've learned to appreciate myself and discovered that I'm a beautiful woman. I've also discovered that I'm safe with God. To me, He's a good father, the father I never had.
Often there's a great need to talk. In small groups, they're able to express their hurts and needs more freely. Each girl also receives psychological counseling by a professional.
Tragically, street mothers with babies cannot be placed in the girls' house.
Contrary to what many people think, these children here do not have a house and a family. Many of them are orphans.
We know those girls for a while already, and they have been begging, please get me off the streets, and we don't have a house for them. And so we need another house, another home for those girls who have babies, and to teach them how you take care of a baby, to teach them a job as well, and we don't have the staff for it, and we don't have the house for it.
Lukasse, he is 9 months old now, and he is a baby of a street girl. And besides the fact that he's born on the street and everything like that, he has AIDS as well.
Some street children die of AIDS. About 12 years ago, Joachim opened a home for them, the House of Refuge.
We try to take care of a child in a way a family should do. Above that, all the children need some special care because they're HIV positive. Many times they have infections. Regularly they have to go to the doctor. I speak as well sometimes with the children that we make plans for the future about what profession they want to have or when they will marry. And maybe you think that's crazy, but why not? It's ministering life to the children. Why not making plans for the future? If you think, no, I'm not going to talk about it because the child will die before they will be 15 years old, you are ministering the spirit of death to the children. I don't think that that's right. It's the quality of life, and my vision for this house is that it is a gate to heaven, a place where we can present the children to Jesus.
Gilma is the adopted daughter of Johan and Jeanette. When she was 2 years old, a Joachim team found her in a cardboard box in a slum, filthy, very sick, and deaf. Now she's a happy 21-year-old, though slightly retarded from malnutrition. She works in the YWAM Daycare Center for Deaf Children, the House of the Sower. In this house, volunteers and full-timers teach them sign language and help them with their homework. The children are stimulated to get to know Jesus and to use the talents they have. In Brazil, like in many third world countries, deaf people are often considered unintelligent.
The parents don't even know that schools for deaf children exist, so they won't even try. And if they would try, it's very, very hard to get them.
Do you remember Lukasse, the baby with AIDS? Meanwhile, he has been adopted into the healthy, caring family of Thijs and Hetty van de Brink. They are the leaders of Luzero, situated in one of the biggest slums of Belo Horizonte. The thought behind this YWAM project is that it is most effective to prevent children from ending up on the streets. Therefore, they concentrate on helping families by supplying food to the very poor.
The mothers were always asking, well, don't you have a course for me or an activity for me on your community center? That's why the idea came to start something with women, have more contact with them, to start talking with them about their children, raising their children, and other subjects that are important for them. And at the same time, offer them something, to have something for them to learn. Many of them hardly didn't go to school. Some of them even can't read or write. And many times they have a real low self-esteem. And by learning, making such beautiful things, they see that they have talents, that they're able to do something, to make something. The things they make, like the towels and kitchen towels, we sell, and the money that comes in is for them.
Education in Brazil is free for the poor people also. The only problem is that the schools in the poor areas, in the slum areas, are very bad. We have kids at Luzero, at the lighthouse, 12, 13, 14 years old, that are not able to read, not able to write, and they've been studying for 5 years.
Luzero not only helps mothers deal with all kinds of practical problems, but also offers lots of different courses and activities to both mothers and children. Handicrafts are popular, as well as sports. And because it is essential for them to get to know Jesus and learn to live with God, they are invited to join regular Bible studies.
We believe that the slum can be a good place to live and can be a good place when God is in the slum. So our goal is not to take people out of the slum, but to bring God into the slum.
A few months ago, Procla-Media caught up with Johan at the Leadership Conference in Brazil. We asked him what the most important thing was about the work they do with the street children there. This was his response.
Street children is really one of the obvious signs of what we call a sick society. You know, something is wrong in social structure. So as we started reaching out here in Belo Horizonte to the street children on the streets, we started to try and find out what's actually happening, you know, where these kids come from. And often people think street kids, oh, they must be orphans and they have no place to go. And so we soon started finding out that street children are actually never orphans or hardly ever orphans. They have a family somewhere in the slum areas, but because of drugs, sheer poverty, adventure on the streets, all kinds of things. Sometimes it's just not enough money for a school uniform, so they drop out of school and become street children. You know, so they're for all kinds of reasons on the streets. And so we found that instead of just picking up these kids and put them in some orphanage or children's home, the first thing is go always see the family. And so we're always going, visiting the families of these kids to find out what's the real problem. And of course, you can start trying to work with the kids and maybe even have a rehab program with the kids. And some of them do need that, but a lot of them can actually go straight back to their family. But then they need help in their family. So we found out that for a number of street kids, we really need rehab homes, reintegration homes, but a lot of them can actually go straight back home. And then the other thought comes, you know, why do we actually work just with street kids? We should actually work with these poor communities. And so that's the other thing we are learning. We want to work in the area of prevention and in the area of social transformation. So we started
in different places around the world and here in Bello as well, working in the slum areas, a youth center, a community center, community development center, working and specifically there, starting with the kids. So these kids, they're often dropouts from school, very low education. Their parents often illiterate or semi-illiterate. So what do? You're going to help these kids stay in school, stay with their family, but be successful in school. So you need to give them a tuition program. Besides the tuition program, you start doing sports and all kinds of things. So you actually bring development to the lives of these kids. You bring them spiritual development. We talk to them about Jesus, and so they get to know Jesus. It's mental development. It's healing of their emotions. It's also economic development. We also, as we work with the kids, we also work with their families. For example, in the Lighthouse, which is a community center we have here in Belo Horizonte, we work with 250 kids, but we also work with over 100 parents. The adults, there's literacy courses for the parents. There's cross-stitching courses for the ladies, manicure, and all kinds of different things. And for the kids, there is tuition program and all kinds of different sports activities. We have a full year-long King's Kids program going on for the kids who really want to, do the dancing and actually also really reach out into the community. And in the weekends, they go to the churches and they dance and they give their testimony. It's wonderful to see those kids from the slum actually becoming really ambassadors and proclaimers for the gospel. And so we are learning that if we really want to solve the problem of the big cities, we have to go where the main problem is, which is mostly in the slums of the big city. Now, of course, the richer people do have problems. There's lots of drugs there as well. And so this area of youth centers can actually work both for the poor, can also work for the rich kids as well, because they also need to be rescued from the pulling of the drugs, and which is so rampant in the city. So one of the pleas I would have is please do not put kids automatically in a children's home. Go look for an opportunity to actually go into the neighborhood and see that neighborhood transformed in all its ways possible.
And that's it for this special edition of Global Perspectives. Once again, we'd like to thank YWAM Singapore for sponsoring this issue so that most YWAM bases around the world could receive it. For more information on the Go Festival Asia, go to the following web address. And if you would like information on subscribing to Global Perspectives, how to advertise an event, or if you have questions or comments, you can contact us at gp@intelcom.org.
I hear a young child cry and see tears of unending pain. I've watched as war-torn nations treated life with such disdain. My heart grieves to know that these haven't come to understand that I suffered for their sufferings and died that they might live again. So take my healing to the nations, bind their broken hearts with love, stretch my hand throughout creation with this message of my love. that I came to bring light in their darkness and bring joy where there once was pain. Take my healing to the nations. Take my healing to the nations. Take my healing to the nations with love.
Procla-Media.